Let's move on, if we can, now to the legislative halftime damage report, because that's kind of what you were talking about.
Well, yeah, because you've been talking the fiscal policy and the disaster, the train wreck.
Right.
That they cannot seem to keep from having more and more of them.
It's like, can we not see the train coming?
Yeah.
Slow down for the crossing?
Yeah. I wrote an article for Center Politics last year as they were finishing up their halftime. They reached this point where the rules of each house is, by such and such date, we have to pass whatever bills we're going to pass that originated by one of our members, and then send it to the other chamber. And then they just kind of say, here's our stack, we'll take your stack.
Correct.
And so this is what they generally call halftime. And really, it's a damage report that I headline this out.
Right.
And I asked you to take a look at it.
Right.
I'm just curious what you think. What would you say were the worst travesties to liberty?
Well, I think perhaps the biggest. Fortunately, we were able to stop the one, which was Smith's bill. Was that the gun bill?
That was the police detaining people.
Police detainment bill, right?
Yes.
And being forced to answer.
Yeah.
Not
stop and frisk on steroids.
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. It would make Giuliani proud.
Forced.
But steroids are illegal. Anyway, the other one that I think it's I think he has good desires behind it, but he's gone about it the wrong way. Is the one about the teenage marriage?
Oh yes, that would be Jason Dunnington.
Jason Dunnington.
No,
I think that he has desires that are headed the right direction, but the way he chose to go about it, and we're going to get into that in some of our COVID stuff later.
Okay.
But the way he went about it, because legislative mindsets, and this comes to all of our mindsets, have been so twisted by media and education and everything like that for 100+ years that he has just decided, well, we're just going to go about it this direction.
Okay, can I set it up and then you...
Yeah, please.
So the original bill that he wanted to do says, all right, nobody in the state gets married until they're 16. I don't care if you're a judge, I don't care if you're a preacher, I don't care who's your mama, who's your daddy. Nobody gets married under 16.
Hurrah!
And then he says, now, those of you that are 16 or older, now, we're going to no longer require your parents' permission on it. We're going to emancipate you. As a matter of course and policy, every judge is instructed now to treat them as an 18-year-old, or somebody who can officially reach the age of majority. Used to be 21, some 40 years ago, and then the Vietnam War, we decided if they're old enough to go die for us, they're old enough to be treated as an adult.
Correct.
Okay, so this emancipation thing, which basically means we give you now full majority rights. He's saying the judge does that, and then you can go ahead and get married. And listen, I've been a rebellious youth, believe it or not, once in my life. I really was. And I come from a family of rebellious youth. My parents had 9 of us, and my God, they had their heads full.
All in rebellion.
Yeah.
But their hair always looked good.
Yeah. But here's the thing. A couple of my siblings just moved out.
No.
And one of them at age, I think she had just turned 16. And, my parents at any time could have said, hey, we're going to call the police. They're going to drag your butt home, right?
Oh, right.
And either you live here or you're in the juvie.
Right.
So here's what happens. And this is what I'm getting to Dunnington's unintended consequences. A kid doesn't want to follow the rules of mom and dad. Hey, I'll just go tell a judge I want to get married. He'll emancipate me, and then I'll change my mind in the marriage, but I'll keep my emancipation.
I mean, this is called the Jeffrey Epstein law. Is that what this is? Where a 16-year-old girl suddenly can have sex with an older man?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Well, the idea is that the unintended consequences that David pointed out, which I hadn't even considered.
You're not deviant like me.
No, actually, my mind did not even go there. But no, I mean that's a great point.
Yeah.
And the question is, what are we putting artificial lines, out there anyway? Because that's really a familial issue. It is not governmental.
Right, exactly.
Now, you and I mobilized on this. We reached out to different groups, and that because Dunnington actually failed in his original floor vote.
Correct.
He got basically all the leadership of the Republicans in the House to vote for it, but the rank and file Republicans defeated it.
Correct.
They about 55 votes out of the 101
Right.
said no. Now, right before they said roll's about to close, the speaker and a few others switched their votes to no when they had been yes all along. So Dunnington, I got word from state representative. I don't have his permission. I'm sorry.
No.
To say who it was, but he says, get ready, it's coming again.
Right.
And so I contacted you.
Right.
And Dunnington went around, he says, okay, how about if I take that emancipation part out? Because the social conservatives did a masterful job of uncovering that weakness in his bill. Sean Roberts, Jim Olson, Kevin West. I mean, there were just so many. David Hardin, Tommy Hardin. There were just so many good, solid social conservatives. Mark LePac. And they basically, took away his narrative.
It was a depancification of the emancipation.
In Dunnington, according to my friend Everett Piper, Dunnington's a former youth minister. Now, so he says, okay, let's say, mom and dad still have that authority to give permission. In fact, it's still required. Mom and dad have to approve of it.
But not before 16.
Right. He still says
still
no.
Not before 16.
Right. And Dunnington said, before the final vote, which it did pass, got close to 70 votes, I think. Dunnington says, look, if it was up to me, nobody under 18 would get married because I failed at my marriage.
Right.
Think about that. He's judging your virtue based on his lack of character.
Right. Right. But see,
and character, that might be strong. His lack of ability to do what he's
hey, listen, I know there's a lot of reasons.
I don't know why his marriage fell apart.
None of us do.
But the point is that I know also of numerous marriages that started very early in life.
Sure.
And went all the way through and never quit.
Sure.
So it really comes down to the individuals, and are the individuals going to work and make the marriage work, or are they gonna not?
Oh yeah.
The problem is getting government and the force of government involved, because oftentimes when people don't have Papa government to take care of them in the aftermath, or to force their will on the other, then you end up being able to work things out.
I got to defend those of us who robbed the cradle, and I'm one of them. Yeah, this is it's competitive, man. The good ones go fast.
What is going on?
That's right.
Here?
I couldn't believe it.
Especially when you live in a small town. It's like
oh, now let's see.
Wow.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it's a little bit of a bigotry, a snobbery towards people who maybe have a different cultural lifestyle.
Well, and this comes down to the very precept that which undergirds our Constitution and all of our rights, and that is that we're all created equal, with certain unalienable rights.
Yeah.
Marriage is a right that no one else can infringe. And the problem is that all these marriage laws and the making them illegal infringes our rights to marry.
Yeah.
The entire point of marriage licensure originally was to keep interracial marriages from ever happening.
That's true.
It was to say you cannot marry without our permission, and our bureaucratic permission will only come to races being similar, and if you're different, you don't get the permission.
Just let me add a little balance as a good parent. I'll say no.
And what are we?
I think I've made my point. I mean, no 16-year-old daughter of mine is gonna marry a 24-year-old dude unless they've been hooking up for at least over a year, and when they go to an R-rated movie, he signs as her guardian. I mean, that shows a little bit of commitment to the relationship.
Yeah, I will say this.
That's a little weird.
Well, I went over my head, so I
you're
keep a
letting your
straight face.
14-year-old shack up with a 24-year-old. That's a little weird for
Yeah.
a year.
Well, Tom
I
recovers.
demand a commitment from the old man that's trying to sleep with a 16-year-old.
I want to say this culturally. I do not know. I'm a Bible school graduate. None of the theologians that I've read about the anthropology of the Holy Land of the time of Christ says anything different other than it's likely that Mary was probably at max 15.
Well,
and Joseph was likely well into his 20s, if not maybe 30.
Oh my gosh!
Okay,
well,
so
there's no way to know that. But
No, and they're going back to anthropological records. And
we
stuff.
have plenty. I mean, if you want to go to the Bible, there's plenty of Bible that shows that people married very early and very old, and it ran the gamut. And you know what? None of it matters.
Well,
matters.
Keep in mind, this is just point one of my context,
Okay.
and there are plenty of other cultures, and there's nothing in Scripture that says it's a sin. It's one of those cultural things. Like I've often said, 90 years ago on this state, marijuana was fully legal, but liquor was a federal crime. Cultures and societies make judgments on what is appropriate and inappropriate. That's totally outside of a scriptural basis.
Well, absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing in
scriptural
Scripture that forbids cousins from marrying, but yet it's mostly illegal in the United States.
And again, where?
That'll forbid you. Hey, for just tuning in, you are listening to the most amazing show on Facebook Live on Mondays.
It's amazing. Don't believe it, just ask him.
Tries to keep up with the host.